Here in Africa, Uganda precisely, the World Food Programme is helping farmers in eastern part of that country to save their food using new, more economical post-harvest methods that include the use of airtight hermetic silos. Let's see this.
Mirab Nabriye is a small-scale farmer living in Iganga, eastern Uganda. Nabriye grows staple foods like maize and beans to feed her family. She sells the remainder of her harvest at the local market to supplement her income. With the help of the UN's World Food Programme, Nabriye is now using new food storage methods. In the past, she had been losing a large part of her harvest through inefficient storage practices. She starts off by laying out the maize grain on the large tarpaulin to dry. She tests the amount of moisture in the grain by conducting a bottle salt test. She fills seeds into a glass bottle and adds 2 teaspoons of salt. The mixture is shaken vigorously for 60 seconds and left under the sun. After 15 minutes, she inspects the bottle, and if there are wet lumps of salt formed in the walls, the grains are not dry enough for storage. Today, the grain is dry. She stores it in an airtight silo. Before we were given this knowledge, our farming was not very profitable. We would harvest sporadically and dry our produce on bare soil because we did not have tarpaulins. It cost us a lot of yields. We shared it with rats and all sorts of insects. But since we learned these methods, there has been a difference. Nabriye is part of a post-harvest loss minimization program implemented and funded by the WFP. Local farmers are trained on how to store and handle their farm produce. They are taken through lessons on the proper use of hermetic storage bags and metal and plastic silos. They can also buy the equipment at subsidized prices. Over 16,000 farmers have so far benefited from the training.
The most substantial benefit that the airtight or hermetic silos have for farmers here in East Africa is the drastic reduction in aflatoxins, a naturally occurring mold that occurs all over the ground, but can be completely prevented with the use of drying tarps and the hermetic storage silos.
Elias Mutiba says he is optimistic about the future. The new storage methods ensure he has high-quality grain, saving as much as 80% of his harvest.
In the next 5 years, I believe I will have prospered. When I started this group in my community, I decided to change my mindset and adopt these methods of harvesting. I also succeeded in changing my family's thinking and that of my neighbors.
Many subsistence farmers in rural Uganda still depend on seasonal rain patterns and use traditional farming and harvesting methods that often result in greater losses. Adopting new strategies and technologies will decrease food waste and improve the livelihoods of farming communities.
More than 1,000 Ghanaian workers took to the streets of Ghana's capital, Accra, on Wednesday as part of planned nationwide protests against what they called unbearable utility prices and other government taxes. The demonstration was organized by the National Labour Union, the Trades Union Congress, after talks with the government to reduce the charges broke down last week.
In December, the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission hiked electricity prices by 59.2% and water by between 69% and 89% depending on usage. The government argued that the increases were crucial to make the energy sector competitive as part of plans to solve the electricity crisis in the country. The demonstrators, most of them carrying placards and wearing red bands, chanted anti-government slogans as they marched peacefully, escorted by scores of policemen.
Moving on 2016, we believe that this government must be sensitive enough to the welfare, to the predicament of the Ghanaian worker, and do a little in utilities, in power and all that. So just so we can have relief. If not, I don't know how we will be managing our life.
As soon as the prices of the petroleum increases, then everything will increase automatically, and it will also eat into your pockets. Because the little that you have is now going to be drained, or you use more than buying things, buying food, whatever. Meanwhile, your salary is staying where it is.
Ghana, a major commodities exporter, signed a 3-year aid program with the International Monetary Fund in April to fix its economy, dogged by deficits, public debts and high inflation. Some protesters condemned the government for signing up to the IMF deal, saying it was inflicting increased hardship on the citizenry. The West African country is also set to fully resolve a 3-year electricity crisis that has crippled industries and made the government unpopular ahead of elections later this year. The government has also increasingly faced vocal public criticism due to the country's worsening economic troubles. Addressing the protesters, Ghana's Minister of Employment and Labour Relations, Haruna Idrisu, said the union's demands are difficult to meet and reminded protesters that the government was doing the best it can. However, analysts say the government did not do enough to prepare the people before it implemented the tax and tariff increases.
What government has significantly failed to do is to communicate this thing in a very basic language for the ordinary person to understand that this is what we are doing. But as it is now, people think because prices are going down on the world market, then it means prices at the pump in the country should also go down significantly. But that would defy the internal economic dynamics of the country.
Ghana, one of Africa's most stable democracies, is preparing to hold presidential and parliamentary elections in November, in a vote which is expected to be a tight race between President John Mahama and Nana Akufo-Addo of the main opposition party.